Hey everyone! Welcome back to Storyova, the place where stories unfold, secrets rise to the surface, and truth always finds a way out. Today's story is one that starts with betrayal and ends with something far more powerful. It's about family, trust, and one small detail that changed everything. Because sometimes, the person who thinks they've won has already lost, and all it takes is a key. I never thought my own brother would try to erase me from my life, but then again, I never thought he'd forget something so important. The key, not just any key, the original one, the one that started it all. Our parents' house wasn't just a house. It was history. Every corner held something. Memories layered like dust that no one ever really cleaned away. The creaky staircase where we used to race. The kitchen where Mom would hum while cooking. Even when things were tight. The living room where Dad would sit every evening, reading the same newspaper twice like he didn't trust the first read. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. When our parents passed away, everything changed, not just emotionally, legally, practically, quietly. Suddenly, that house became something else, an asset, a decision, a divide. My brother Samir wasted no time. We should sell it, he said, just 2 weeks after the funeral. 2 weeks I remember staring at him, wondering if grief hit people differently, or if he had already moved on long before they were gone. Sell it? I asked. Already? It's just sitting there, he shrugged. We don't need it. That word felt heavier than anything else, because what he meant was, he didn't need it. I wasn't ready. Not even close. I still felt like if I walked into that house, I'd hear Mom calling my name. Like Dad would still be in his chair. Like anything would still be there. You can't just decide that, I told him. I'm not deciding alone, he said quickly. We both own it. There it was. Ownership. Not memory. Not meaning. Ownership. The conversations got colder after that. More calculated, more distant. Samir started talking about market value, property rates, and smart timing. I started talking less, because every time I tried to explain what that house meant, it felt like I was speaking a language he no longer understood. Then one day, he came to me with papers, actual papers. Printed, organized, prepared, double quotes. I found a buyer, he said, placing them on the table like it was a business deal. I didn't even touch them. You already found someone. They're offering a good price, he said. Better than we'd get later. And you just went ahead with that. I'm being practical, he snapped. Someone has to be. That was the first time I saw it clearly. This wasn't about the house anymore. It was about control. I'm not signing anything, I said. He leaned back, studying me like I was a problem he needed to solve. You don't have a choice. I laughed, not because it was funny, because it was unbelievable. I don't have a choice. We both inherited it, he said. But I've already spoken to a lawyer. Of course he had. Apparently, he continued, there are ways to move things forward, even if one party is being difficult. Difficult, that's what I had become. Not grieving. Not attached. Difficult. Days turned into weeks. Samir stopped discussing it with me. Which should have been a relief, but it wasn't, because silence, with him, never meant surrender. It meant planning. And then one morning, I got a message. Not from him, from a stranger. Hi, I believe we're buying your house. Can we schedule a visit? My stomach dropped. I called Samir immediately. What did you do? What needed to be done? He replied calmly. You can't sell the house without my consent. I didn't sell it yet, he said. I just made arrangements. You went behind my back. You were slowing things down. I felt something break in that moment. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly. And completely. The next day, I drove to the house. I hadn't been there in weeks. Maybe I was avoiding it. Maybe I didn't want to face what it had become. or what it was about to become. When I got there, something felt off. The front gate was slightly open. Always closed it. Always. I stepped inside. The air felt different, not warm. Not familiar. Empty. And then I saw it. The lock. It wasn't ours. I froze. For a moment, I thought maybe I was mistaken, but no, that wasn't the same lock we had used for years. It was new, shiny, unfamiliar. My heart started pounding. Slow at first, then faster, because suddenly, everything made sense. I tried my key. Didn't fit. Samir had changed the locks. I stood there for what felt like forever, just staring. Processing. Replaying every conversation, every argument. Every word. He didn't just want to sell the house. He wanted me out of it completely. I called him again. No answer. Of course. So I did something else. Something he clearly didn't expect. I walked around to the back because there was something Samir had forgotten. Something small. Something old. Something he probably assumed didn't matter anymore. The original key. Years ago. Before we ever replaced the front lock. There was a side entrance. A smaller door. Barely used, almost hidden behind the overgrown bushes. Most people didn't even know it was there, but I did. And more importantly, I still had the key. My hands were shaking as I pushed through the branches. The door looked exactly the same. Weathered, ignored, forgotten. Just like everything else. Samir thought didn't matter. I took out the key. The original one. The one our father had given me years ago, just in case, he had said. I never thought just in case would mean this. I inserted it into the lock. For a second, nothing happened. Then, click. The door opened, and just like that, everything changed. The inside of the house was different, not physically, but emotionally. It felt like stepping into a place that had been paused, waiting, holding its breath. But there was something else too. Something new. Papers. Boxers. Signs. Samir had already started preparing it for sale. Without me. Without telling me. Without even pretending to include me. I walked through each room. Slowly, taking it all in. The changes. The emptiness. The intention behind it. And then I found it. A folder. Sitting on the dining table. I opened it. Contracts. Agreements. Documents. With signatures. His signature. But not mine. And that's when I realized something. Something that shifted everything back in my favor. He had made a mistake. A big one. Because no matter how much he tried to push forward, no matter how many arrangements he made, no matter how many locks he changed, he couldn't legally sell the house without me. And now, I had proof. Proof that he had tried. Proof that he had acted without consent. Proof that he had crossed a line. I took photos of everything. Every page. Every detail. Every signature. Because this wasn't just about a house anymore. This was about accountability. Samir thought changing the locks would keep me out. But all it did was give me a way back in. And this time, I wasn't walking out quietly. When he finally called me back later that day, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I didn't even sound angry. I just said one thing. I went to the house. Silence. Then, you had no right. I smiled. Because for the first time, he sounded unsure. I used my key. I said calmly. More silence. The original one. That's when everything shifted. I could hear it in his breathing, in the way he hesitated, in the way he realized he wasn't as in control as he thought. You shouldn't have gone in, he muttered. And you shouldn't have tried to sell something that isn't yours. Alone. Another pause. Longer. This time, you don't understand how this works, he said. No, I replied softly. I understand it perfectly now. Because sometimes, it's not about who moves first, it's about who remembers what matters. And Samir forgot one very important thing. He forgot. I was never locked out. Not really. And now, neither was the truth. So what happened next? Well, let's just say, the house didn't get sold, at least, not the way he planned, and Samir, he learned something too. You can try to rewrite the story, but you can't erase the person who still holds the key. And just when Samir thought things would quiet down, they did, because once the truth cracks open, it doesn't close again so easily. The next few days were tense, not loud, not explosive, just heavy. Like something was waiting to happen. Samir stopped calling, stopped texting, which, in any other situation, might have felt like peace. But this wasn't peace. This was strategy again. I, on the other hand, didn't stay still. I couldn't, not after what I had seen. Not after what he had tried to do. I went straight to a lawyer. Not the one Samir claimed to have spoken to. Someone independent. Someone who didn't already have a side. I laid everything out. The inheritance. The pressure. The documents. The changed locks. The attempted sale. Everything. The lawyer listened carefully. Didn't interrupt. Didn't rush. Just listened. And when I finished, he leaned back and said something that confirmed what I already suspected. You're in a stronger position than you think. Stronger. That word felt unfamiliar, because for weeks, I had felt pushed, cornered, outmaneuvered, but not anymore. He can't legally sell the property without your consent, the lawyer continued. And if he's already initiated agreements without it, that complicates things for him. Complicates things. That was one way to put it. What about the locks? I asked. That's a problem too, he said. You're a denying you access could work against him. For the first time since all of this started, I felt something shift. Not just emotionally, strategically. Samir had been moving fast, trying to stay ahead, but in doing so, he made mistakes. And now, those mistakes were catching up to him. We started taking steps, immediately. Formal ones, legal ones, documented ones. A notice was sent, clear, unavoidable, It stated everything. That I had not agreed to any sale. That I had been denied access. That any attempt to proceed without my consent would be challenged. And most importantly, that I had evidence. Samir couldn't ignore it anymore. 2 days later, he showed up at my door. Unannounced. I opened it, and there he was. Same expression, same posture. But something was different. Less confidence. You went too far, he said immediately. No greeting, no hesitation. I crossed my arms. Did I? You involved a lawyer. You changed the locks. He clenched his jaw. That was temporary. Trying to sell the house without me wasn't. Silence again, but this time, it wasn't controlled. It was uncomfortable. You're making this harder than it needs to be, he said. No, I replied calmly. I'm making it fair. That word hit him. Fair. Because deep down, he knew it hadn't been. We can still fix this, he said, shifting his tone. Fix. Interesting choice of words. How? I asked. We sell it. Split the money. Move on. There it was again. His solution. His version of fixing. And what if I don't want to sell? He exhaled sharply. Then what? You just keep it. Live in it alone. I didn't answer right away, because for the first time, that question didn't feel impossible. Maybe, I said. He stared at me, trying to figure out if I was serious. You can't afford it, he said finally. That almost made me laugh. You're not worried about what I can afford, I said. You're worried about losing control. That one landed hard, because it was true. This was never just about money. It was about who got to decide, and for the first time, it wasn't him. He looked away for a moment, thinking, recalculating. Then he said something I didn't expect. "What do you want?" Not "what are you going to do?" Not "why are you doing this?" "What do you want?" And just like that, the power shifted completely. Because now, he was asking. I took a deep breath. "I want time," I said. "For what?" "To decide what that house means now." He frowned. "That's not an answer." "It is," I said. "Just not the one you want." Another long pause. "And the buyer?" he asked. "That's your problem." I replied. Because it was. He had created that situation, not me. "You're putting me in a difficult position." I looked at him, really looked at him, and for a second, I saw something I hadn't seen before. Not anger, not arrogance. Pressure. The kind that builds when things don't go according to plan. "You put yourself there," I said quietly. He didn't argue this time. Because he couldn't. Instead, he nodded once, short, tight, dash, and then he left. Just like that. No shouting, no slammed doors. Just gone. But that wasn't the end. Not even close. Because what Samir didn't realize was that the story wasn't just about the house anymore. It was about everything that led up to this. Every assumption, every decision, every moment he thought I wouldn't push back. And now? That pattern was broken. Days turned into a week. The buyer backed out. Of course they did. Legal complications tend to do. That Samir didn't contact me again. But I heard things. Through mutual connections. Through quiet conversations. He was frustrated, stressed, trying to figure out his next move. But here's the thing about moves. They only work when the other person stays still. And I wasn't still anymore. I went back to the house. Not secretly this time. Not through the side door, the front. Because legally, I had every right. The new lock was still there. But it didn't matter. Because this time, I wasn't alone. I had someone with me. And within an hour, everything was documented. Access restored. Officially. No more shortcuts. No more assumptions. Just reality. And reality was simple. That house was still ours. Equally, I stepped inside again. But this time, it felt different. Not like a place frozen in time, but like something waiting to begin again. The dust, the silence. The half-packed boxers. They didn't feel like endings anymore. They felt like choices. And for the first time, I got to make one. I walked into the living room, sat down in Dad's old chair. It creaked, just like it always had. And for a moment, everything felt still, not empty. Still. And that's when I realized something. Samir wasn't the only one who had been holding onto the past. I had been too. Just in a different way. He wanted to erase it. I wanted to preserve it. But maybe there was a third option. Something in between. Something that didn't destroy the past, but didn't trap me inside it either. And that's when the idea came. Not all at once, but slowly. What if the house didn't have to be just a memory? What if it could become something new? Something meaningful. Something that still carried everything it had been. But also something more. I didn't tell Samir right away. Not yet. Because this time, I wasn't reacting. I was deciding. And decisions take time. But one thing was already clear. No matter what happened next, he wouldn't be making it for me. Because the moment he changed those locks was the moment he lost control of the story. And the moment I used that original key was the moment I took it back. So if you're still here, listening, wondering what happens next, just remember this. Sometimes the smallest things, the things people forget, the things they think don't matter anymore, turn out to be the most powerful of all. And in this story, that was a key. But in yours, it might be something else. Something you already have. Something you just haven't used yet. So don't let anyone convince you that you're locked out, because you might just be holding the way back in. And if you've made it this far, don't forget to subscribe to Storyova. Because stories like this, they're just the beginning. And the next one might hit even closer to home.
That's all for today's story. If this resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. This is Storyova, where your story matters. And I'll see you in the next one.